The most effective organisation in highlighting the government's complicity was Palestine Action. What does our government do? What does the Home Secretary do? It defaults to its absolutely standard authoritarian tactics, and it proscribes it as a terrorist organisation.
A majority of our elected representatives voted to ban this group. A majority of peers in the House of Lords voted to ban this group. You've decided that they're wrong on that, so you're going to break the law by supporting them because you don't agree with it.
In essence, that's correct, yes.
I oppose genocide. I support Palestine Action. Those are the words on placards held up by hundreds of demonstrators in Parliament Square on Saturday before many, many people were arrested and in some cases charged under the Terrorism Act 2000. That's because Palestine Action was banned by the government earlier this year as a terrorist group, which means supporting them has become a criminal offence, punishable by potentially up to 14 years in prison. The move to proscribe them came after the organisation said it carried out £7 million worth of damage to planes at RAF Brize Norton. The group vandalised them and sprayed red paint on them. Let's talk to a Knight of the Realm and former long-time advisor to King Charles when he was the Prince of Wales. It's Sir Jonathon Porritt, who was one of over 500 people arrested on Saturday. Sir Jonathon, thank you very much for talking to us. My first question is, why are you supporting a terrorist organisation? Like most people in the UK, I've been following very closely the unfolding genocide going on in Gaza and the increasing disruption from the Israeli Defence Forces in the West Bank. And I've come to the conclusion that the UK government is now incontrovertibly complicit in this genocide, not just through the continuing sale of arms to Israel, but because of its reckless refusal to follow guidance from the International Court of Justice to seek to prevent genocide in countries like Gaza. Now, the most effective organisation in highlighting the government's complicity was Palestine Action. So what does our government do? What does the Home Secretary do? It defaults to its absolutely standard authoritarian tactics, and it proscribes it as a terrorist organisation, even though its own advisers told the government quite clearly that there was no evidence whatsoever that Palestine Action advocates for any violence against people, and that this would be an unprecedented initiative from the government to proscribe an organisation that is using violent action against people. Right.
Violent action against property.
So, a majority of our elected representatives voted to ban this group. A majority of peers in the House of Lords voted to ban this group. You disagree with them. You've decided that they're wrong on that. So you're going to break the law by supporting them because you don't agree with it.
In essence, that's correct, yes. But you will also know, Victoria, that there is a judicial process underway. Palestine Action had its application to have this prescription reviewed in the High Court on July the 30th with Justice Chamberlain. That will now be expedited in November.
Sure.
So there's an ongoing legal process.
There is. But I've just, in principle then, do you think we should all be able to pick and choose the laws that we want to follow and the laws that we want to ignore?
I think this country has a long and honourable record of people deciding for themselves on the basis of their conscience which laws uphold the values to which they subscribe and speak to those values most powerfully. So we have many, many examples of people deciding that some laws are not consistent with those values and choose in those cases then to break the law in the full knowledge that they will be held responsible for breaking the law in that way. That's exactly what is going on here. That's exactly why the 532 people were there in Parliament Square on Saturday, absolutely determined to demonstrate what the government has done is not consistent with their sense of justice and fairness here in the UK.
Can I give you some of the Home Secretary's reasons for wanting to ban this organisation? And I'm quoting from Yvette Cooper. There may be people who are objecting to prescription, who don't know the full nature of this organisation.
because of court restrictions on reporting while serious prosecutions are underway. But it's really important that no one is in any doubt that this is not a non-violent organisation. And she added there had been clear security assessments and advice ahead of the ban. I mean, is that not good enough for you?
Yes, I'm admittedly somewhat loath to take a rather desperate Home Secretary at face value, it must be said.
Well, do you think she's lying about the security assessments and advice?
Let me play the security assessment back to you. As I mentioned before, the Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre, which is the government's own advisory body, advised Yvette Cooper that there was no evidence whatsoever that Palestine Action has advocated for violence against people. It has, obviously, in its campaigning work, in its direct action campaigning work, used violence against property. That is very, very different from violence against people.
If I may, Sir Jonathon.
So when Yvette Cooper, if I may, let me just finish. So when Yvette Cooper implies that Palestine Action has done violence to people, we know that the Home Secretary is not, in this case, revealing the whole truth. Why does she not put that truth into the public domain? I think it's really significant tonight that Palestine Action has accused the Home Secretary of defamatory accusations, and we will no doubt hear a lot more about this.
Sure. 2 points there. She says that she hasn't put that information in the public domain because of court cases, which no one would want to prejudice. And in terms of your point that they don't commit serious violence against people. Actually, I've looked at the Terrorism Act 2000 and it also involves serious damage to property. So that is covered too by the terrorism legislation of 2000.
So, as you just said, Victoria, the Act goes back to 2000. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that it's taken 25 years for that particular power in the 2000 Act to be put into practice against the one organisation that is causing this government maximum embarrassment on its complicity in genocide. 25 years have passed without that needing to be brought forward. And let's not have any illusions about this. The government and the police have many powers to use against people taking direct action against property. Criminal damage in this country carries a heavy sanction. So if they wanted to deal with the damage against property, they've got all the powers they need in the existing law. What they did not have was the power to silence Palestine Action, which is what they have now sought to do.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. We appreciate it. Thank you.